Hello everyone. In this series of videos, we will be looking at the origins of certain monsters, the different variations they've received over the years, and how their movesets and attacks have evolved throughout each game. Remember to like and subscribe for more. The Yian Kut Ku is a bird wyvern from the very first Monster Hunter game. He is coloured pink with a large beak but overall small stature. He has a few attacks. He can spit fireballs, charge at you, bite, swing his tail around, and peck at you 3 times in quick succession. Sometimes he will leap backwards, exerting wind pressure on you. When enraged, he is capable of stronger fire attacks, where he dishes out multiple fireballs at once, as well as other attacks becoming stronger. Kut Ku's flames are not very strong, so they don't go very far. In Monster Hunter G, he gains an alternate form, the blue Yian Kut Ku. There aren't many differences compared to the regular Kut Ku, but he does slightly more damage. These monsters were mostly beginner tier, being the first serious threats you face in the first Monster Hunter games. By the time you're done with the game, they're fairly easy to take down. This does not apply to the Yian Garuga. Yian Garuga was introduced in Monster Hunter Freedom. He resembles the Kut Ku, but is bigger, purple, and much more fierce. He also has his own roar. Garuga has most of Kut Ku's attacks, but curiously some of Rathian's too. He can shoot fireballs, either individually or part of a triple combo, and they're much stronger than the Kut Ku's as well. He can perform a backflip with his tail, which can poison you if it connects, just like Rathian. Unlike Rathian, however, getting hit by a side swing will also poison you. He can often do these tail flips instantly, or as part of a charge. Garuga's most iconic attack is probably his beak slam, which hits fairly hard. He can usually perform it twice in a row, and can sometimes leap before doing the attack. Yian Garuga can also leap backwards, but he roars while doing so, which stuns the player twice. None of the Yian family appeared in the 3rd generation, but they all returned for Monster Hunter 4. They've all received some slight design adjustments, namely being more detailed and having 1 extra claw per leg. Unfortunately, all 3 monsters are exclusive to the Everwood in normal G-rank hunts, which makes it very annoying to capture footage for them. Luckily, they are all featured in event quests, but the downside is that Kut Ku and his subspecies are very small. Kut Ku retains all his attacks from the earlier games with smoother animations, but in G rank he has the ability to dig up Khonchus from the ground and throw them at you, often multiple at once. The blue Kut Ku does the same, but he also has the ability to perform a combo where he glides and kicks at the hunter twice in quick succession before performing a dive attack. Yian Garuga has become even crazier with age. He can now perform incredibly strong beak slams in quick succession. When leaping back and roaring, he will now sometimes follow up with a tail flip. He is extremely adept at combining attacks together, especially from charges, which makes him very difficult to deal with. It's worth mentioning that the blue Kut Ku can also beak slam, although not as fast. They can all be affected by the exhaust system, which will cause their attacks to become more feeble, their fireballs to fail, and their beaks to be stuck in the ground after slamming them. Yian Kut Ku and Garuga return for Generations Ultimate. While Kut Ku is missing his subspecies, Garuga gains his own variation, the deviant Deadeye Yian Garuga. Deadeye is much smaller than his standard counterpart. One of his eyes is missing, and the other permanently glows. Deadeye now has the ability to use a heavily enhanced venom, capable of dealing massive damage, and cannot be negated by armor skills. His sideways tail swings will only deal the standard poison. He also gains new attacks as well as slight variations of Garuga's. He can dash forward twice in a row. He can delay his beak slams, throwing off the timing of your dodges. Deadeye can also perform a special charge that is faster but requires him to stay still and build up momentum. In G rank, he can follow up his beak slams by digging up rocks from the ground and launching them in different directions. He can also hop back to better reposition himself for a beak slam. Now historically, Yian Garuga has always appeared in a Monster Hunter game alongside the Yian Kut Ku, but this trend was broken with the return of Garuga in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Fightable in post-game, Garuga has received a few design changes, namely his wings being altered. He loses and gains attacks from his old iterations. For one, he can no longer scream and then backflip like in 4 Ultimate, but he can now perform aerial tail slams as well as huge dive bombs. He also gains the ability to perform powerful fireballs like Rathian and her variations. With his ability to chain attacks together better than ever before, Iceborne Yian Garuga is the most unpredictable he has ever been. But not nearly as unpredictable as Scarred Yian Garuga, who makes his official debut in Iceborne. Kind of. You see, Scarred Yian Garuga is a variant of Yian Garuga in Iceborne, but the very first Yian Garuga in Monster Hunter Freedom was actually scarred, as he was missing an ear and had a huge scar on his face. This makes him the original Garuga, or at least the first we've ever seen. The games have more or less treated Scarred and regular Garuga the same, and used either one indiscriminately. Monster Hunter 4 exclusively used Scarred Garuga, while in Generations he always appeared unscarred. In Iceborne, they finally made him a proper official variant, and he has proper differences from the base form. Although technically, Scarred is actually the base form and Garuga is actually the variant. It's a weird situation. In Iceborne, Scarred Garuga is always tempered, which is the game's enhanced monster state. This means he will always have increased damage compared to normal. In terms of moveset, he can chain aerial attacks together much more often. He also has a brand new attack where he sends a volley of fireballs down to the ground. Yian Garuga is a weird monster for me. My very first game was 4 Ultimate, and because he was Everwood exclusive, I very rarely fought him. I find his concept pretty fascinating, as he is basically a crazy version of the series' tutorial monster. The way the games handled the Scarred Garuga was also really interesting to discover, and I hope in future they can give them even more differences. The Kut Ku duo are decent tutorial monsters, and it's cool how 4 Ultimate gave the blue variation some unique attacks. Which iteration is your favourite? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and check out some of my other videos too. Have a good day.